All right, we are on. We just thought we're not going to be able to stream tomorrow, so we thought, okay, let's stream now. And we're on the Ohio Turnpike, driving to Toledo. I'm with the Doctor of Dialogue. Where's the Doctress of Dialogue? And we just thought, okay, we're on the Ohio Turnpike. Let's just let's just have a conversation about life. And at a different time, it's 2:15. So that's it, Laurie Lynn, right? And so
I asked you, what are you going to talk about?
and I said, well, we'll just start. I usually just start talking, and we don't have anything in particular to talk about because I'm not sitting at my computer and I don't have any news articles or anything like that to pull up. But I figure you and I are at no loss for finding things to discuss.
Yeah, we haven't actually turned on any media since we sat down in this car 4 or 5 hours ago.
Yeah.
We've just been talking.
So, so that's it.
We did. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said I did suggest talking about this kind of tension between following news really closely and choosing not to follow news closely. You didn't really want to. You didn't think there was a lot of legs.
No, I actually was curious. I'm curious about what you're doing these days.
Mm-hmm.
And like how you are managing news, because I know you're not paying attention to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
How is that for you?
I'm in a place where I'm satisfied by not following the news closely. I've spent a number of years following closely for me, not following it as like a historian or somebody who studies as a scholar of media, but just, trying to be, or just being really connected to arguments that people make about different policies, positions, ideologies. And once again, I'm having the experience, because I've done this before, where when I go back to the news, it's the same news. It's like same news, different day. And I know that I'm being kind of vulgar when I say that, because clearly there's lots of details of things that are happening and not happening. But as a person who's just an average citizen, I don't think that there's a lot that I'm missing that I can actually know.
Okay, well, let's break it down. First off, let's go to the first time.
Okay.
Same news, different day. It's not the same news, but it's the same categories of news. Things happen, things that human beings pick out in their local and national and international worlds that make it to a certain cycle of, hey, this is a pronouncement, or this is something that we should tell them.
Yeah, some kind of violence, whether it's collective.
Not necessarily violence, just things that are rare.
I think violence is a category. You said category.
Oh, okay. For example,
some kind of, like, if somebody just like starts shooting on the Ohio Turnpike, that's going to make the news.
Yeah.
Because it's rare, right? It's violent. That's definitely gets our attention and needs to. Yeah.
Hypocrisy, these kinds of things. Okay.
So you're saying one of the definitions of news is something rare.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Which is also go back to the same.
Yeah.
Same news, different day, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we know sociologically, we know that a certain number of events happen regularly, right? So there's the crime rate doesn't change from month to month, year to year very much. The amount of whatever it is, like hunger, the amount of the corruption, whatever happens in the world, the number of homeless people who become homeless in a given week doesn't change much week to week unless something really big happens. But so that's the sociology of the invisible strengths, right? So that
right, but those you would and most of those things are therefore not news, because it isn't like we're not getting news for example, for the most part, unless it's being used for some kind of argument, we're not hearing about crime rate and homelessness, et cetera, those things that are very stable. Because
Right.
they're very stable, they're just like the context that we live in, right? Just to say. So those things are steady states. Again, unless somebody's using them for argumentation. Okay. It's not like crime rate is the same this year as it was for the past 10 years, unless it's a political season and then someone, but again, that's not news, that's politics.
Well, yeah, and right now crime rates, there are, the news is that crime rates are down, violent crime rates are down, but when you look, you see like, well, wait, hang on, how much lower are they this year than last year, or this year than 8 years ago?
Right.
And then that becomes something. But I think it is news.
I'm not saying it's not or shouldn't be news. I'm just saying typically what you're talking about are those steady states that are not reportable. Maybe like a long story essay kind of thing, but not news headlines.
Yeah.
Again, unless somebody's trying to make a point.
Yeah. You know? Okay. But the fact that it is, because here's the point. One point for me anyway. The fact that in New York City, from one weekend to the next, or Chicago or rural Ohio, there's the same number on average, very close to the same number of armed robberies happen or home burglaries happen from week to week or month to month. It's pretty striking. Like what happens? What is going? This is sociology. Right? What is going on with the population of rural Ohio? That week to week, month to month, or on any given weekend, the same number of home burglaries happen.
Which, by the way, I understand that's the sociological point, right? Yeah. What is it that's shaping those things to be steady states? But that, I'll just say, if I were making an argument to not follow the news closely, that would be one of them. Yeah, it's like, what's really changing that much that I need to know about it? Unless it's a hurricane, some significant, shocking event, right? This is the debate about what is news, but to me, news is, oh my God, this thing is happening, just happened.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
So what you would want to know is, have there been any home robbery, like break-ins, in the near vicinity of my house?
This is exactly what I think about. So just to say, I'm on an email list locally in our town where we live, which is a media release from the police, the local police, right? Which is a lot of the times it's some video image of somebody that stole a pack of gum from Wegmans, right?
Seriously?
So that level.
It can be that level?
Okay, a pack of gum, no, but a shirt.
Carton of cigarettes.
Yeah. So it's very low level. That's typical in our town, right? But the point that I'm saying is like, why do I open those emails every time they come in? Because I want to know what the trends are in State College. And if they change, I want to know that, because the trends are, like I'm saying, pretty low level. We certainly have violent crime, accident, serious accidents, all those kinds of things. But those, you can see, I'm looking for trends. Somebody disappears, a kid is missing, blah, blah, blah. But so anyway, I'm just saying, those are the things that I do want to know about.
It's local.
Not that it's that it's local, but I could say that national things matter to me too. But the point is looking at the trends.
So let me, trends, but why? I understand following local news, which is ironic because.
No, I'm not talking about it being local as much as it being trend.
Yeah, I got you. I'm just changing direction of the conversation.
Okay. So you understand following local news?
Yeah, I understand that, because that's where things really impact us, right?
By the way, I don't follow the local political news.
No, you don't.
I don't know. For the most part, I don't know, when are we voting on what's happening 3 blocks from us, where a builder is wanting to put in some new thing that I don't like, but I don't go to the meetings. So it's a very interesting realm, right? To say, what am I tuned into and what am I not? And I'm saying this not because it's about me, but how other people are making their decisions. about it. So anyway, go ahead. Local,
All right.
but you think obviously, I would say obviously that it is. You can see why you would follow local news because it's more directly impactful.
Yeah, but then at the same time, if I live in a big city, like when we're in Bogota,
Mhm.
right? It's 8 million people in Bogota. I don't really want to know about each person who had their cell phone stolen on the streets in Bogota. It's a big city. It's a big spread out city. I don't want to know that. I don't want to
City.
brawling city. I don't want to follow the local news because it really, in the end, it doesn't impact me, or it doesn't impact me very much at all. And so all it's going to do is, I mean, I can go outside our building, our apartment, and look around and be like, yeah, how are things today? And you sort of watch the behavior of other people. People are walking in the park, or it's the same behavior day after day, week after week. So okay,
Yeah.
things are fine.
I mean, in a way, that's reading the news.
That's reading the news. So why would I want to pick up the newspaper and find out, hey, like say, 6 people downtown,
Mhm.
which is on my bicycle, it's 45 minutes to an hour away,
And probably 2 hours in a taxi
and 2 hours in a taxi.
in the crowded city
Yeah.
traffic.
So why would I want to know that 6 people had their cell phones stolen? It's like, oh my gosh, if I go down to the city, I need to be careful with my cell phone. I mean, maybe, but I already am going to be careful anyway.
But that points out another thing about what is local, right? Because there's this border around this thing called Bogota that makes it a singular city, and there's ways in which it is a singularity, right? But there's many different subcultures and ecosystems within that city, right? So how do you even compare the downtown to the neighborhood that we live in, right? Oh, but you can compare. Everybody's speaking Spanish. There's plenty of things that are the same, similar. But anyway, that's all. But that applies to the bigger things, right? Like you hear this happened in Iran, but like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Where?
Maybe
what
that means nothing.
singular spot on the map, right? Because it matters, and it certainly doesn't mean the entire country, but we tend to think of things that way.
Okay, so
Okay, back to you.
okay, so that therefore it would make sense unless it's really your job. And then even then, why would it be your job? Why should it be my job to go into a classroom and inform people about the news that's happening around the world, right? Like, why would I want to do that to my students? I don't want to do that. What I want to do to because they're gonna hear, well, I can talk about all the really cool things that are happening in all sorts of places, whether it's Haiti or Mexico, or hey, you got the cartels in Mexico. They've kidnapped a bunch of people here and there, but Mexico's a big country, man. But you can go to all these other parts of Mexico, most parts of Mexico, and nothing's going to happen. You're not going to experience violence. You're going to experience some very welcoming energy and so on from Mexicans, who are very happy you're there, and you're going to be able to participate in culture. And so maybe if I think about it, that's the teaching that I should be doing my students. With my students.
When are they how to discern what the information?
Maybe how to discern, but only talk about the positive stuff. Why would I talk about the negative stuff? What am I going to say? Like, where have you and I been where we've really been in danger? Except that one day in Bogota when we were walking along that one path, and
that park.
Even people who probably would have been the very people to rob us, right? Even they said,
you guys should turn around and get out of here.
You don't turn around. Either we or these other people down there are going to rob you. But like, we're just going to do you a favor right now. Turn the F around.
Yeah.
I think of everywhere we've been, right? In Palestine, in Israel, in Iraq. I mean, all over in Ethiopia, all of our Haiti, all of our time in Haiti. I've only been to.
No, there was one time I just heard you say a couple months ago that you and Ernst, your dear friend, were in Haiti, or in a place in Haiti, and Ernst was like, "We shouldn't have been here. This was not good."
He was, after we left, he was like, "Man, I was afraid to be there." And I'm like, "What?
Why did you bring me here?" Yes.
Yeah,
there was one time. There was a part of New York that was very
sketchy,
debilitated. That I was just aware that it was a place where people, the few people that would have been there, would have been desperate, right? Just more of like a robbing kind of being robbed.
You were with me?
Yeah, I was with you.
New York City?
Yeah. I forget where it was, but I remember just, like when I'm somewhere, you look around to see like where a business is and
yeah.
I was going to say restaurants, but I didn't mean restaurants. Just like stores, establishments, dynamic movement of people. And when it's a place where things are boarded up and there's very few people around, and the few people that are there look impoverished and unhealthy, you start to say, wait, what's happening here? And I think anybody that's there could be someone that someone wants to take something from.
Okay.
Of course.
And
that makes sense.
When you say that, because of the places that when you say it, people looked like they were living on the edge.
I didn't say living on the edge. I just said impoverished.
Well, yeah, but when you say that, so the average middle-aged, are you middle-aged? Are we middle-aged? Yeah. Are you still, you're late middle-aged?
I hope I'm middle-aged.
The late middle-aged white woman who would say that, most people are like, wait, hang on, what do you mean by that? But when you say that, knowing where you've been in the world and what you do and what you're willing to do and where you're willing to go, including by yourself, when you say that, I know it's a particular kind of place in New York that you experience.
Well, it doesn't have to be okay, but
I'm speaking to the
I know that, I know, and I'm going to say more, but it can be anywhere. It does. I mean, I said that moment it happened to be New York, and I'm from Jersey, so you know what I mean. It's not like
remember that one time we were in his room. Wait, okay, go ahead.
I just want to say, I'm talking about anywhere. It can be rural Ohio, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow, there's nothing here. There's a person over there that looks like they're drunk or high, and I'm just assessing like what's happening here. And I don't think it's controversial to say that when people are desperate,
yeah,
they're looking, any one of us is looking for some way to, what's the word, put a salve on that, which is, seeking. But most of the time it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm also aware of that. Okay, but anyway, I just wanted to say, I think for me anyway, that's the measure of saying, where am I, or what might people that I don't know want from me? And sometimes it's just somebody asks me for money or food and I can give it to them.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going back. I'm thinking about my class. By the way, I did have that thought. There was that one time that you and I were
you said Israel?
Israel. We were going back to where we were staying, and we were in Jaffa.
Yep.
And we were walking through this industrial zone. I don't know how.
Typical for us. To be not in a very picturesque place.
Yes.
Just to be walking in the middle of warehouses, or I'm not saying there were warehouses there, but
no, that kind of were. It was
just like where we
really late at night. We were the only ones on the streets. Yeah. I mean, there was nobody in the streets. And I felt the hair go. And I don't feel this. I didn't feel this in Palestine and in Israel. I don't feel it really anywhere except in that one moment. Something happened to me, and I went, "Man, I think we're not supposed to be here on this particular street." It's fine, here we are. But I've had a few moments like that. Okay.
But at the same, but sitting right next to that, because I didn't have that experience in that time, which is interesting. Like moments in our neighborhood when a place that we walk all the time, like the park in our neighborhood, and you'll be like, nah, I'm not going through there tonight. And I'm like, why? And you're like, I don't know. I just have a feeling. I'm like, oh,
you're right.
Okay. So anyway, you had that feeling, but in the same time, I had this feeling of being completely safe.
Yeah.
Like in my whole being in that area.
And that, yeah.
And I was like, why am I feeling so safe? At the same time, there was an active conflict in Gaza. There was bombing. There had been a terrorist attack in Jerusalem at that same time that we were there, right? So like things were happening. It wasn't like we were in some field of roses, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, so anyway, we're talking about paying attention to the news, but then where we are is in the realm of
Okay.
safety. And I kind of wonder if that's the only reason we look at news is to know if we're safe.
Well, okay. So now let me have my, let me think about going back to teaching, right? That really my job as a teacher could be fun, really spending a lot of time helping people to see all the places in the world that are really safe for them, you know, and not pick up all the violence and the problems that around the world, not highlight those, but actually highlight all the, like, so many positive
That's kind of like positive psychology, right?
Yeah.
Where the field of psychology is built around the problems of mental health and wellness, right? And so then there's this whole branch that was like, well, wait, let's look at all the things that work well, the state of flow, creativity, what it means to be happy, right? And so you're saying, what's functional in the world, right? Positive sociology, as opposed to what's going wrong.
Okay. And in a way, I kind of do that in class anyway, just by having students talk.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say mostly be more positive, right? They don't know all the.
It's not even, I don't even think it's that they don't know, because I think it's because we're all influenced by fear and et cetera, and hopelessness of different levels. But I think you're asking them questions and they're giving you
answers,
their thoughts, and those thoughts are not built around everything is a problem.
I'm not asking them questions about darkness.
Sometimes you are, but
yeah.
And they'll answer that. But I think there's a lot of things, you always say this, there's a lot of things happening in the world that are working. Like you and I are driving 75 miles an hour on the highway.
We're going 69.
By the way, the speed limit is 70. So it is, we aren't speeding.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of are officially, but the point is, like, these trucks that we're passing are working. They're delivering the goods to places. The cars are working. We're going to an airport that's functioning. Like, the point is, there's so many things you always say that are functioning. Systems are working. Yeah. Obviously, we pay attention to things that aren't working or that are hurting people, but you can also pay attention to things that are working, right? Is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh,
by the way, maybe. I don't know how to check the chat. I thought I did, but how do I see if, what am I supposed to look at?
Well, you gotta just tap on the chat.
I don't see the chat. Okay, well, hang on, I'm looking. Sorry. Yep, I am. I've looked at this. I've looked at it multiple times and I did not. Hang on. Let's see. There's a little box. No, I don't see the little box. Wait. Oh, really? Okay, let me try. And then I'll let you know if I haven't found anything.
The main question was, why are you in Ohio?
Always the question.
Yeah, why is anyone in Ohio?
Not fair. Ohio is actually, I have found people here.
People are very friendly in Ohio.
So nice. Like, I was walking in our neighborhood in Pennsylvania a couple days ago, and these professional landscapers are zooming by with their ear protection, and I'm like, oh my God. Here, my experience here, last time I was here, is people mowing actually stopped, turned off their mowers, and let me walk by. And I was like, what? That's amazing. That has been my experience of
friendliness. Ohio.
Yes, that's very
courtesy.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to overstate it, but I will give a shout out to Ohioans. It's like you, Sammy.
Ohioans,
well, like you.
I got that. I have that friendly gene.
You do.
The kindness gene, right?
Yep.
Put other people's needs, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes ahead of my own. So anyway, listen, we're in Ohio, because, well, first off, I'm born in Ohio. So that's
raised in Ohio.
Left Ohio when I was 25, shortly right before I turned 25, I think, maybe before I turned 26. Man. But I'm coming back to see my brother and sister-in-law and niece family and play some golf, but also to pick up my other brother at the airport, who's my nephew, but we call him my brother because we're very close in age, and we're picking him up. But he's flying in from California. We're going to Detroit airport, pick him up. Then I'm going to see my cousin, who's my best friend growing up, and his wife in Michigan, and then go down to Toledo. That's it. That's the total story. Just spend a few days. Gonna play golf tomorrow with my brother, with both my brothers and another friend. So that's what we're doing. That's why we're in Ohio.
I am.
See the chat?
I have to see the chat now. Thanks, chat. Yeah, there were questions about best part of Ohio is that the speed limit is 70 the entire way through. Will we be attending a Reds game? Nope.
No.
Golf games. That's all that will be attended.
Yeah. No, we're way north. We're up, but we're south of Cleveland now. We're on the Turnpike, so we're Cleveland back there north, and we're now headed toward the land of Toledo now. It's
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
about the changes in that city.
Yeah, man, things have really changed.
When Sam is golfing, what are you going to be doing, Laurie?
Well, I think I'm going to be working actually, unless somebody has an idea for me that is different than that. But I've been, since I'm not a golfer, I've been caddying for Sam in the past week or so.
No, the past month or so.
Okay. And so, but this time there will be 4 golfers and 2 carts.
No room for a caddy.
No room for me.
But Laurie went. I've taken some golf lessons from Garrett, a former student of mine.
Shout out to Garrett.
Shout out to Garrett.
He's amazing.
And 3 really key hour-long lessons. And so each one, he's really helped move parts of my game forward. And Laurie's been in attendance for all 3 lessons. So she's now become my unofficial or official assistant coach. Garrett's assistant coach. And really, it's so useful to have somebody watch every swing that I make. So like on Sunday, we played 18 holes. And to have you, Laurie, watch every swing, and you're able to distill certain things that I did right or wrong, or
even though I know nothing about golf, and my entire life was like, what is a golf course and why would anyone be on one? So this is a very interesting experience to kind of study what golf really is.
Yeah, but you do. By the way, we're passing the
Cedar Point.
One of the exits for coming up for Cedar Point. If you're in the amusement parks.
Yeah, it's a cool amusement park.
So, but you understand the human body, and more importantly, in our 40 years, you've come to understand my body, how I move, how I walk, all my mechanics. And so when you understand what Garrett is trying to get me to do, you can see it.
Yeah, because I'm just not you. So I'm more like a mirror for you. So yeah, that's been interesting. I would have gone to the golf experience in Toledo, but
it's different.
It's a bro thing this time.
Yeah, that's the guys. That's the guys.
Brother thing.
But it's been really useful in having Laurie so-called caddy for me. She drives the cart, and one time we walked, but it's been, man, my golf game has improved tremendously because of Garrett and Garrett's assistant coach.
That's right.
Dr. Malpit. So anyway, but I don't keep score. There's no handicapping going on. I'm not keeping score. But I will say that last week, about a week ago, I kind of got to the back. I got to the back 9, and on the 13th hole, it was a par 3. I shot par, then a par 5. I shot par, and then I shot another par, and then a bogey, and then a birdie.
And that would be nothing to me.
That would be nothing. But that's what I made. Like, the game's improving because I couldn't have done that fast.
So wait, here's from the chat. Any noodle fishing plans? That would be entertaining to watch. What's noodle fishing?
Noodle fishing. Oh, noodle fishing. Oh my God. Noodle fishing is when people fish for catfish
Yeah.
and they put their hand in like sort of inside the mouth. They get the catfish to bite their hand. I
Okay.
think is what it is. And then you put your hand inside the catfish. But people pull up some big 15, 20, 25 pound, maybe 30 pound. I don't know.
Does that mean catfish
I think so.
human flesh?
The actual catfish.
No.
Yeah, but they can't eat human flesh because they don't have.
I know, but still, like they would if they could.
No, I think they won, but I think they must. I don't know how it works. Be really
So-
curious if someone in the chat can say, but I have watched these videos. It's really intense, man. Someone's down and they come out of the water with this big, huge catfish with its mouth around their fist.
That's crazy.
I think that's
Crazy.
what you're referring to, noodle fishing. But it's a thing in the Midwest for sure. Probably in the South. It's a U.S. thing. I don't know if people are doing that anymore, but it's a very interesting. It's very unsettling. Just the thought of that. But
So here's a couple other things that are not golf related.
right,
The most recent one by Stephen Kirkpatrick, UK.
Stephen. Hey, what's up, Stephen? Shout out.
Our Prime Minister Starmer has resigned.
Oh man.
So that means when they choose his successor, it will be our 8th Prime Minister in 10 years. Just
Yeah, that must be unsettling for you all, right? 8 prime ministers in 10 years. That's not a good thing. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So wait, LDU widow fan. I'm hoping my president Daniel Noboa will be revocated to our country, so our country can rebuild around something for everyone. I had a friend go to the UK a month ago. He said there were no white people. That's
No, your
Yeah.
friend went to London. When you go to rural England, right? Let's just stick with England for a second. I looked at some data on this. Just Stephen, you can, jump in on this, but it was really interesting to see how incredibly diverse London is. Like more than half the population of, well, I don't know if it's more than half, but something like 90% of all of the people of color in the UK are either in London or Manchester, both, like the 3 largest cities.
Mhm.
But when you get out into the rural areas,
Or just not
it's 97% white on average. So it's very interesting in that sense. I was really struck by that.
That makes me think, is that true in that meaning, like diversity of the city population versus non-city population, like in every country, like regardless of,
Yeah, where countries have immigrants. Yeah.
but I'm even wondering if, like, because at some point people somehow got to a place, right? And a city would, I guess there's different kinds of diversity.
Yeah,
Right?
no, where there's been a lot of immigration starting in the second half of the 20th century.
Mhm.
Yeah, you see that because immigrants are going to go to high population areas. And you can go to rural areas, but only if you have a job, which is of course what we see across the United States. Like here, for example, where we're at right now. If I look over on the left or over on the right, there are these small houses for mostly Mexican farm workers. So there's a path that people take. They come up, they travel through the United States, and they stay for a certain period of time in given areas. And like I could turn the camera on, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to do it.
You can see, but so this is a very rural part of Ohio here. And then you will see like, whoa, here are all these Mexican, but they're temporary migrants. And then you're going to have some stores, you're going to have various things that really cater to them, but then they might close for half the year, But anyway, so you see that where you have immigration. Otherwise, you're not going to go to these random rural towns. Like, you're not going to do that because you don't. I mean, some people will, but you know, you like if you're
You have to have work. So.
you gotta have work. So you have college professors. You have like, you know, like Ben lived in Du Bois, right? Because we have a Penn State campus there. It's a very tiny campus.
Ben
but
is a Korean immigrant friend of ours,
yeah,
right? A colleague.
and he was the only Korean probably in Du Bois. There might have been one other family, but he basically.
So wait, this is there's a lot of things here. Wait. Laurie, this is Jeff. Have you seen the videos of Europeans having culture shock from visiting for the World Cup?
Oh yeah, I've been watching some of that. Have you seen any of that, Laurie?
I have not.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's cool, actually. It's really interesting to have that. You know, it's the first chance in to have all these people, groups of people from around the world with cameras and phones, man, and they're like they're filming themselves with their experience of all these like the truck stop that we just were at back there a couple hours ago. There's stuff like that, you know, that they can't believe. You know? Like going to Mexican restaurants and they bring you free chips. Like unlimited supply of free chips. They're like, wait, what? Do I have to pay for these? No. This is what we do in most Mexican restaurants here.
So
stuff like that.
Jeff asks, outside of London, what other cities are multicultural in England? Steven says Birmingham, Manchester, Nottingham. I don't know how to say Leicester. Leicester.
No. Hang on.
It's
like
I know it's
chest. Oh, the chest. Oh man,
I can't say it. Bradford, Glasgow, Liverpool, Sheffield, Watford, Luton, Bedford, etc., etc. So many multicultural cities, places.
More multicultural. London is, I think, I'm going to ask Stephen this, is London the most multicultural or would it be, is there another one that's more?
A moment ago, he said there were over 300 languages spoken in London.
Oh yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, that's good service.
One of my favorite things with the culture shock is the portion sizes, the store sizes. I know somebody from London, and they're like, my parents are going to come here, and they're going to see Target and be like, why are your stores so big? And I was like, what, your Targets aren't that big in London? They're like, we don't have Target in England. I was like, oh, okay. But like the Best Buy, like just the small things, the stores that like most Americans know of, we don't even think about it, but then people come and they're like, it's safe to walk here at night. Like, not everywhere, of course, but people are very surprised. Everyone's super welcoming. Was it Stephen who said that as a proud Scottish ancestry, that he was happy that they drank the bars dry in Boston. Because Boston didn't prepare. So it was really cool. I just love and South Korea was going against Mexico in Mexico City, I think. And so there were videos of a bunch of people together. I don't know. It's cool to see the World Cup come to the United States, Mexico, and Canada, just so that just to see everybody mixing and enjoying each other's cultures. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really nice. It's a very interesting way to experience the U.S. because you're experiencing it with all these people from many different countries.
Yeah.
Or like I saw that the Dutch had taken over the streets of Philly yesterday. God, there were tens of thousands of Dutch fans in Philly.
I think it was Algeria took over Lawrence, Kansas, because they picked Lawrence, Kansas for their home base of operations. And then the town of Lawrence, and probably not everybody because people are living their lives and busy, but the people who came out and supported them were out there at like 2:00 in the morning or whatever time to welcome them to their hotel when they landed. So like, I don't know, it's been really cool. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Cool, man. Well, what's important for people to understand, like I'm saying this all the time, but Americans are very friendly, and in the South of the U.S., they're really friendly. And so, even in New York City, man, New York City is known actually. Do you know this, right? the data on friendliness, and they do research on this, right? New Yorkers are very friendly.
What?
You don't think that, right? You just have this imagination that the New Yorkers are like New Jerseyans, right? Who don't even know their neighbors after 20 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very well, New York. It's very fascinating, really. So
Okay,
that's kind of a
so
cool thing.
I'm just hang on, just looking at the chat. We're talking about World Cup. Okay, wait. So I want to say, hang on. I'm gonna pause this thought for a second so we can keep going on this. But the facilitator in me is like, okay, this is your space. So
go ahead.
The facilitator in me is like, we were having a conversation about news and kind of what is needed, and we don't have to go back to it, but we could circle back to it and keep going with whatever things come up from there.
Okay.
But that's the facilitator in me, just tracking.
Well, why don't we keep going and then we circle back to that?
To what?
The news one. Well, hang on. Can I just finalize my
You can.
statement?
I'm just.
And then we'll go.
Absolutely.
Okay. So my final statement was, I'm really going to give a lot more thought to the just sort of like positive data that we talk about in class.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it's just like this World Cup stuff. It's, people are getting a real positive perspective on the U.S. and Americans, average Americans. That's important, especially because you don't get that by watching Donald Trump. He just seems like he's so mean
or the news.
So coming out of the U.S.
Goes right back to what I'm saying is like, how do we know? To me, the news, even like the town crier, yesteryear, is to like let you know what's happening so you can adjust to it and shape your life around where things are and where they aren't and what is safe and what is not and all that, right? Yeah. And so I just think we have such a distorted sense of the world, but even just our world, when all we do is hear critique, we hear argumentations for different ideas about whatever problems endlessly. And again, not that we shouldn't address them. I am a person more than many who look at problems and try to solve them. But I feel like we're missing what's happening right in front of us, which is good and bad. Yeah. Right. When we're only thinking of like, okay, what the news say? Oh, wait, I got to keep scrolling back and seeing like what happened when that car crashed or what happened when that mass shooting. I mean, I just don't know if we're better off and if it's even accurate.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right. Because how many people watch the national news or international news and are like, the Americans are absolutely lost their minds. Yeah. And then you meet most people. The vast majority of people, and it's like, it's fine.
Yeah. No, even hey, by the way, can you turn the camera around just so you can see where we are? I just realized. No, not like that. Just hit the other camera.
Oh. You just want to see the road? Where is I actually don't know how to do it.
Up at the top right, probably.
Oh, right here.
There we go.
There we go.
That's us.
Isn't that beautiful sky?
It's flat country.
Almost. It's not as flat as it gets, but it's pretty flat.
Yeah, it's pretty flat. We're coming to a big hill up here.
Really big.
Yeah. This is
but it is pretty flat otherwise.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Get there? No.
Yeah, all right, go back, man.
I guess that proves that we really are driving
in Ohio. Okay, so actually it wasn't even a hill, it was just a bridge basically. So
So Jason Perkins says turn off the one night propaganda monster and go outside and meet your neighbors.
Yeah. I think if I want to go back to what you were saying there, no, I want to go back. I think you start with the assumption that wherever you are at any moment in time, probably most of us do, but wherever you are, you're safe. Okay, you start there. You start with that assumption.
Or you're not.
Probably safe.
Wait, no, or you're not. I mean, if you live somewhere that.
Okay, I got that. You know it. You don't live in a safe area, but if you're traveling and you're,
okay. I'm not thinking
you're
about travel.
it's probably safe. You're probably okay. Start at that place.
Okay, but I see your mind goes to traveling. My mind goes to living in a spot, and so that's why what we're referring to is slightly different. But yeah, for the most part, wherever you are, people will likely help you, and no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what.
No, and I don't mean traveling necessarily international, just like us.
Anywhere,
we're now going on our way to Detroit Metro Airport.
Mm-hmm. There was another, but okay, wait. So I just want to say, that I think journalists, so the professional newsmakers, whoever they are, so many of them everywhere, they do a service for us, right? So I don't want to I'm not hating on journalism. I mean, there's a critique, there's all kinds of things that we're talking about. What's the point? What's the intention? Who does it serve? All that. But when I see what journalists do, like which most people, right? Thoughtful journalists, like they have a very hard job to go somewhere and figure out what's happening and report it in a way that's accurate.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Life is so layered, and people really I'm fascinated by one, wanting to do that, and two, doing that professionally.
Yeah.
Right, doing that as work. It's a very difficult job. So you're always up against something impossible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and we learned this when Penn State had the scandal with Jerry Sandusky and all of that, and that reporters came into town, and the stories that were told were in many cases not reflective of the reality of the town.
It was a singular story.
Well, yeah, it was and it was hard to tell any other story, and there's all kinds of things related to that. But especially one colleague of ours was like, I would have come into this town. She lived in State College, and she said, I'll never forget it. She said, I would have done exactly what the reporters are doing. They were coming into this town, following all the protocol, and I would have missed it just like they have. And
she was a journalist.
Yeah, she was a journalism professor. And so anyway, I also want to recognize like how hard it is to go somewhere, report something that's happening, or even to live in something and report what's happening. That's a different, difficult. But anyway,
go back to the Sandusky thing. Remember that? Like when kind of most of the satellite trucks left, there were 15 or 20 of them lined up for about a week. And most of them left. But yet there were still a few reporters that were kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
In this Newsweek report, Newsweek was going to do a feature about just they want to do a very different angle about it. So they reached out to Laurie and I, and they said, this reporter said, hey, can we talk? So, all right, listen, we can talk. We'll talk off the record first, because we want to see what you're thinking. And we gave her such a complex alternative,
just like a layered
story. And in the end, she just pulled it. She called her editor and just pulled it and said, we can't do this because it's way too complicated, So, and that was really interesting. We sat in our living room or dining room for about 2 hours with her, just kind of laying stuff out. So,
I just want to read this one chat. It says, "Oh, Laurie, please don't bring that story up. I hate that story. Working in child welfare treatment, what that mess did to child line made abuse investigations absolutely dysfunctional, abysmal." So many things, especially as people. By the way, we just passed Sandusky, Ohio, so I think that's why that story came up. Sorry, but so many things became a mess and abysmal, and and a big part of that, in my humble opinion, at least at the local level, was how much we didn't address it as a community.
Yeah.
And we couldn't, because it became such an international story, and it's connected to so many other stories and an era that we're in or were in. Yeah, I think we have maybe just recovered from a couple of the major dysfunctions of that. So anyway, not to minimize the child line experience, but yeah, it did a lot of damage in so many places.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry to bring up that story, but it was so profound for us in like thinking about news. And so maybe the idea in reading any story, realizing that it was written by a human who's looking out of their eyes, you know, and like that's it. They can only see what they see. They do not see reality.
And oftentimes, no, almost always trying to get the right story.
Yeah.
Right. Like whatever, but a lot of times people they're still misguided on it because they think the right story is a certain angle. But if and not seeing that, no, that certain angle is just one of many different approaches. But nonetheless, it's
But someone in the chat was saying that I think the importance of the news, but we're just so inundated.
Yeah, that's an issue.
And that is. And then also, obviously, we all know this. We're inundated, and then we have basically like news organizations. What is the word? Like almost advertising to us. In other words, advertising a way to think and advertising a way not to think, right? Like, oh no, don't think like those Democrats, don't think like those Republicans, right? And so that's baked into all this information too. It's just so for me at this moment, kind of checking in with the headlines as they come up on my phone. It's like, okay, Iran, do we have a ceasefire? Do we not have a ceasefire? Do we have one? Do we not have one?
We had about 20 of them. Yeah.
I mean, it's...
now it becomes really... And the headlines become toxic.
Yeah. I said the other day, like, I do not need headlines about who has died. Like,
oh my God.
Like a person who...
Yeah, who was it who died? And you said that? You're like, I don't even know who this person is. Why would
I mean, there are certainly...
Oh, it was an actor from some television show.
It doesn't even matter. Like, they, in their own right, had a profound career and everything. But, like, I don't need to be alerted on my phone that they passed. I could...
Yeah.
That could be news, but not breaking news. You know what I mean?
Well,
so we have, so whoever, I forget in the chat, whoever was like, we're just inundated.
Yeah, I got
like
it.
Someone needs to get the memo to just back up a little bit.
Well, Laurie just turned off all of my notifications on my phone for everything. So that's pretty cool. We are crossing over the Sandusky River.
See that name again.
It's just
it again.
So I turned off all the notifications on my phone, so I won't get any of that. So now I gotta just track back and turn off the notifications on my.
Jeff, remember that when you're trying to get in touch with Sam.
Yeah, I won't get notified. You're gonna have to call me. I will see a missed call, I think, but
that's if you look at your phone.
Yes, I look. That's hard. It's so hard. I mean, I'm on my phone all the time because I'm just endlessly sucking up in, stories and data and stuff. Fascinating stuff about the world.
So, I don't know how long we've been in this, but where do you want to go?
To Toledo.
Detroit first.
Detroit. Yeah. Wait, in the conversation?
Okay, wait.
Where do we want to go in the conversation?
Yeah. Yes. It's like, I hope I'm not being snarky in what I'm saying, because I'm not intending to be.
About what?
Well, because I think the reason that I said to you, listen, being really following news versus, and I'm making it binary, versus not following the news. Like, I hear people talking about that all the time. Like, I just can't do it anymore. I'll hear people say, I just can't do it anymore. It's, it's making me nervous. It's making me tense. It's making me angry. And then on the other hand, but like, I have to pay attention. I have to know what's happening, or it's my
But
duty
why,
to know.
wait, what? That's what people
That's
say.
what I'm hearing people say.
Yeah, but you're not.
Wait,
You don't know what's happening. Okay, but go ahead.
But I'm not talking. I'm just saying the reason that I brought it up is because I do think it's truly something many people are thinking about.
Yeah.
And one, because you said kind of, I have a civic responsibility to know something about what's happening. And if I vote, I should know, because things always kind of get to that, right? Like your voting is your civic responsibility, some people think. But anyway, I'm not saying it just to talk about me. I'm just saying I have gone back and forth in the different camps about anyway, because I think there's a moral or ethical question in it. Yeah. And that's why I brought it up. So I'm not bringing it up just to say something snarky or something at all. I just think, I wonder what other people are doing, and are people shifting back and forth, because it almost feels like people feel like they have to take the bitter medicine of the information. It's like, no, this is hurting. This is bothering my age.
We have to be martyrs.
But it's our job, and I get this.
Okay, so here's the problem, though, right? I want to know what you think about this. So sometimes when I hear people, the other day I was in a conversation with someone who was a thoughtful person, and we started talking about Iran, and the government of Iran did things, and they were following the headlines. And so in following the headlines, they made some comments, not just the headlines, but like basic kind of stories. And they made comments that were like, well, here's something that I've learned, and I thought to myself, I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, look, I'm not an expert on Iran, right? But you know that I know a lot about Iran.
You spend a lot of time. You have for a very long time.
Just as
studying the politics of all the countries.
Of all the countries, but the Iranians in particular, it has just been something that's been on. So, but anyway, but I was thinking, man, wait, what you just said to this person, right? What you just said is so not even like, it's like saying Ohio is flat and has a lot of soybean farms, and thinking that you understand farming in Ohio, whatever. I don't know. It's like, oh, man, that is just that you haven't even hardly touched anything at all, which was fine, right? I wasn't judging, but what I was thinking was like, what's the point of what this person told me? What's the point of that person even knowing that information when it's has almost no value at all to understanding the life in Iran among Iranians and Persians, And so, and again, it's like I study and read headline after headline about the fact that Ohio is flat. Like, well, whatever. Like, there's no meaning at all. Go bowling or something. You know what I mean? But so I was thinking about myself, and when I only know like a tiny little bit about someplace, what's the point of me knowing those things? Like, why do we care? Like, what? It doesn't matter. I don't really know. So I'm not really educated on it, and I don't know, and I can't really understand. And I like, okay, so then why waste my time even trying? Why do I do that?
But I guess this is like, I think that what you're saying is what is implying one of the deep debates of this era that we're in, which is what's true? How do you know it's true? Who can affirm what's true? Are there experts on anything? And like what information actually matters? Like I'm always saying, like understanding electricity is probably a lot more important than understanding the history of Shakespeare, right? Someone can argue that for sure, right? Shakespeare's works. But I don't know. I grew up with a father who's an electrician and two brothers who are electricians now, and I do not know enough about electricity. I don't know anything functional about electricity.
Yeah.
So I know that I don't know that, but there's so many things that I don't even know that I don't know. Anyway, but the point is, like, now we have access to people and information of so many kinds,
Yeah.
right? And also this kind of this idea, this deep sense of like, that person is not an expert. I'm not listening to that person, or that person is biased, and their expertise is actually not expertise. Whatever. We're just going through some major watershed moment in terms of like, what can we know? Who knows things? How do we trust knowledge of any sort? What's the most? So
why do we care?
We care because we're navigating a world.
Yeah, okay, but hang on though. I agree with everything you're saying. But earlier today we were talking about how you and I, but you in particular, don't like small talk. You just you want to go deep.
Well, it's not that what I was saying was, it's not that I don't like it. I'm just always interested in going further than whatever we call small talk. Like, that's where things start, but that's not where I want to stay.
Yeah, so you'll say you can do the weather.
The weather's fine. It impacts us.
I got you, but then
you and I argued about the weather yesterday. It was that important.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, but then I was thinking, but a lot of this stuff a lot of what I know about the world, which is kind of surface level stuff, because I know a little bit about lots and lots of things. It's small talk, basic.
Wait, what you know?
The things that I know about how the world operates.
Would be small talk?
It's equivalent of small talk.
Okay, all right.
Because when I listen to an expert about any number of things, like, last night I was making the video about a certain aspect of Korean culture. And the more I dug into it, and the more layers there were, and then it was, oh God, I would never understand this if I wasn't not just Korean, but I have to be Korean of a certain aptitude
or generation
even the different generations know different things. So I'm like, I'll never know this. It's like small talk for me. I'm making a video about it.
By the way, how are you doing driving? How are you doing with you're very speaking of thinking and expertise and all these things, you're very strategic and smart as a driver. Are you able to pay attention?
Yeah, because this is how you and I would be talking.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm safe so far.
No, we're fine. No, but that's the thing,
anyway,
right?
Yeah.
We're not holding the camera. I'm not looking at the camera. I don't need to see the camera. I'm like, this is just like me having a conversation with you. If the camera wasn't on, this is what would be happening. This is what was happening in the car for 3 hours before we turned the camera on. So it's all the same, right?
But anyway, I do think it's I know a lot of people, we the humans are fighting about information all the time now. Yeah. And we have to just go through this era where we have access. It's like the democratization of information. Anybody with a camera can speak into the world, and we're learning of so many different, just like not just ways of thinking or like groups of people that all have a thought about something that we've never thought about before. And it's just gonna reshape everything about how we are in the world.
By the way, we're now entering Sandusky County, so just to kind of stay with it for a second. So when you see something written down or you watch something that's been stated on video, it automatically has more. It's more authoritative. Mm-hmm. It just is something in the mind that does that, and which is crazy. Like the other day, I was reading an article in the Washington Post or Wall Street Journal, I think it was, and then so let me see what the comments say about this, because I'm really curious. I feel like people are gonna Wall Street Journal readers might be a little critical of this, and then I saw a couple comments that were kind of along the lines of what I was thinking about it, there wasn't anything really crazy. But the moment I saw those 2 comments, I was like, oh, okay,
I must be right.
I must something, because there's 2 random comments
Right,
that agree with me.
right.
But it wasn't like that. It wasn't a thing
No,
like that.
yeah, no, it wasn't that,
But
but
it
it's
just made my thought more authoritative.
Yep,
Like, oh,
yep,
okay, I'm standing on solid ground now.
yep.
And I'm like, wait, I don't know who these 2 people are, man. They don't know who I am. Like, they might be a knucklehead just like me.
So you're saying like the media themselves, the platforms themselves actually make anything seem more authoritative.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, just like me live streaming, just like us, we're live streaming. So it's like, well, and people are watching and they're chatting and they're thinking and they're probably doing other things while they're watching, or they're gonna watch the recording of the video. And like, but something, because we turn our video on, there's something more authoritative about anything that we're saying. I mean, and people can say, well, that's not really true, but it is true. That's how it works, and that's how life is, and so you got all these YouTubers and news media cycle. We don't even know where the news is coming from. Increasingly, I'm seeing news sources that I think I have no idea.
Yeah.
Who this is. This could be some high school kid in his basement who's putting out
and also
news.
a lot of people talk about who's the newscaster in like the 60s, the singular
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah. So many people use his example as like, when we had news that was coming from one singular source and it was authoritative, and I'm like, that is like the worst idea, really. I mean, sure, it's simpler, it's less controversial, it's all the things, right? The controversies were happening in other places, not on the screen necessarily, right? But I'm like,
think of how that news was censored.
Think of like the limited information that was.
There were no women doing the news, so
there was no anybody except
no black people, brown people, no nothing, no other culture. It was a singular.
And who gave this person the authority? And why do we think anyway? We get it, but the point really,
no poor people. They're not delivering the news.
Yeah.
If you put a bunch of activists from right around here, man. Like there's some, I don't know, like to talk about what it's like working on some of these farms. Have them deliver the evening news, or at least one story. You get a very different story. Yeah, that was great. That's a really funny example. Yeah. Well, we're going to be We're going to 2.3 miles. We'll be off on the 280. We're going to go around Toledo, actually, so
towards Detroit.
Yeah, towards Detroit.
In 2 miles, take exit 71 on the right to I-280 north.
Maybe before we end to the street.
Well, we're going to keep going up.
I know.
Yeah,
but the inquisitive Kathy said, I've been working on the genealogy of the Richards and their journey to Ohio.
Oh.
Curious which branch your ancestors are.
Oh, my branch came from the Richards, I don't know. Like that. Well, the Richards got to Ohio really from my father. They were all in St. Louis and Springfield, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri, and out that way.
I'm eating a sandwich.
1 mile to exit 71 on the right to I-280 north.
So that's where the Richards name came from. But yeah, it's and before that they were in I think it's
Mm.
Yeah. Weren't they?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You were just talking about that.
But the Martell side, my mom's side, came from Hartford, Indiana. They got there by way of Quebec, French Canadian side. So my middle name is Martell. My father.
Take exit 71 on the right to I-280 north.
Okay, we got it. You think, I grew up in Ohio, in Toledo, in this area. You think I know where I'm going. But it's a lot easier just to
in 0.7 miles, turn ahead.
The GPS just tell us. I don't know what time I don't know what we did before GPS. Man, it's crazy. Writing directions down.
And saying, hey, I'll meet you there at X time.
Yeah.
And that's it. You just gotta wait.
And having maps.
Mhm.
I always had a map in my car. I went big
Any map.
atlases.
Mhm.
Yeah, crazy. But so many things are complicated. We were able to figure it out and make it work, and we got to where we needed to go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess that's a lot about life. You actually get where we need to go.
Mhm.
Huh. Hey, you could mess up. Here we go, man. Easy pass. Huh. See how we do it. Slow down.
Keep right onto I-280 north.
All right.
Your bandwidth going
Got
through
it.
the
Thank you,
plaza is a
ma'am.
little low, so somebody said MapQuest, print it out. At one point that was
Yeah.
definitely a thing. But even before then, you
Yeah.
either just had to know the highways and what the numbers meant and where you were headed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you really did. It was so crazy. I remember having like written out just directions for things.
Yeah, people would tell you and you'd write them down.
Stressful because I remember like here we'd be stressing a little bit. Okay, hang on, did we get to the right place?
Yeah.
You see that hotel right there?
Yeah.
That's where we spent New Year's Eve when I was a little kid. With my
Continue
dad.
on Burnt Road for about 35 miles.
All right, about 35 miles. Yeah, there was an indoor pool at that place. And then we would spend a couple days before New Year's there.
Was it the Red Roof Inn as it is now?
Well, now it was the Holiday Inn back then.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, really interesting.
Howard Johnson's. Remember that?
I remember that. Yeah. Wow. God, so much changes. Yeah. So many changes in life. Wow. So I mean, and so many things don't change, and so many things do. And like, by the way, Toledo is a town that has really been impacted by deindustrialization, and it was a big industrial center. Obviously, the auto industry is big. The glass
And
industry,
isn't it called the Glass City?
glass capital of the world. Yeah, and so much industry is left, and there are various few other places here, but mostly it's striking at the amount of the how would I say that depression. Yeah, and so many streets that used to be solidly middle class, and I could last time we were here we drove down. Wow, man, this is really dilapidated.
People are
So many
struggling.
streets. Many streets. Yeah, people are struggling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very unsettling for me to come from a city that has really gone on to some hard times, and there are places in Toledo around the outskirts, a few towns that have done well. Like there's a town called Perrysburg that used to be a tiny little town, but right on the other side of the Maumee River. But then, it really blew up. People started selling cornfields and soybean fields to all sorts of businesses and different things. And Perrysburg's, thriving and doing quite well. But Toledo itself is really, really struggling. Man. And a lot of others of these kind of small towns around used to be in good shape, and they're not. So, this is one of the things about, I don't know, it's like life that it's really, for us, it's really valuable to get out of state college, a town that has done very well, has maintained its presence because of Penn State University, which is so massive, large, and research university, so money is always coming into the town. And to come to so many other cities that just have gone in the opposite direction. So anyway, it's a little bit unsettling.
Yeah. It's very unsettling just to think that, all of the citizens have been left behind.
Yeah, and you're from Newark, New Jersey, so but that
Another city that
that very quickly, shortly after you were born, that really shifted a lot. And then you went from Newark to Irvington, and then you went to Middlesex, north. So
no, but the city of Newark is
there's a few parts that have kind of come back. The Portuguese section. I mean, there are a few areas that have been that really have done a lot of building.
Yeah, but my dad always said, like, I don't understand a city that has a major international airport, seaport, and all this
everything
industry area, and it's like, it just lost itself.
You changed the camera, by the way, again.
I'm just thinking about like the future and how, I don't know, growing up, there was a place out near Philadelphia that used to be an industry that no longer exists. So now it's like kind of barren, and now they're using that space for businesses. And I'm thinking about the future when we have these massive, plants that are now entirely being run by robots, and there's like 6 employees that are running this entire factory. So we'll have like these massive buildings that will feel like we have growth, but then what are people going to do? Because all these businesses are going to continue to expand to fill demand, I guess, but I don't know where the money's going to come from to buy all this stuff. But I'm just thinking that the next time that there's because instead of no longer using those buildings, we are using the buildings, just as people aren't really working in them like we used to in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think these kinds of changes happen very slowly, and it's really as a transformation of the economy that we're going to see. Like we will adapt to the new robotics and AI revolution, which is coming, and
Which
it's
is
coming
here.
in a big. It's here.
Here.
It is.
I mean, certainly, revolution is a good word. You said that, Jeff. Do you want me to keep this?
Yeah, you don't even know.
Are you trying to show something?
It's probably more interesting to watch where we're going. Yeah, we're going to go through downtown. Not through per se, but we're going to go on the edge of downtown. People have never been to Toledo, so you've never been here.
This could be anywhere USA, though, right? Like we're on a big road with trucks and cars.
Hey, there's the hospital where I was born. But
what's it called?
Oh, it's Flower Hospital.
It's called Flower.
Well, it's not now, but yeah.
Why does that sound so funny? Flower Hospital.
Eric was correct.
I'm a
In
flower
Bethlehem,
child.
PA, steel stacks.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really the changes, man. Karl Marx, I say it all the time. All that is solid melts into air.
Is he the one that said that?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't the only one to think it. But I had no idea that would have been Karl Marx.
Yeah.
Wow. Sounds like a Shakespeare.
It really does sound like.
I haven't said Shakespeare in decades, and I said it twice in this conversation. What does that mean?
You were an English major. So.
Yeah, but you would never know. I was looking something.
Here's a really cool bridge, by the way, up here. I don't know if you can see it.
You can see like
that spire on the left. It's yeah.
Are we going over that bridge?
We are not going over that bridge now, but it's cool.
Wait, so I just want just that word revolution. I just wanted to say, I'm so glad Jeff said that word, and I think it's a word that I haven't been using, but it really does feel like it applies. Like we should be realizing that we're in the middle of a revolution, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can say industrial revolution, right? And it's like, yeah, all these things happen, but it's making me think right now, like people must have felt really destabilized in the way we feel destabilized, right? But I didn't think about that ever. It's just like a moment in history. And now I'm like, oh, wow, this is what it feels like to be in a revolution. So
we are going over the bridge.
Yep, there it is. Here it is.
No, this is what it is. Think about that. When you're shifting from horses and to cars.
Mhm.
Just think about that. And trains. Think about just the steam engine and trains,
Right.
like everything that happened there, and all of the industry that just imploded because of the train and because of the rise of automobiles. And
Yep.
man, it's just so many things.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Jeff for saying that word.
So AI is, it's doing that. Not just AI, but
information revolution, economic revolution, all things. So, anyhow.
Anyway, we didn't move the camera around to show downtown Toledo. It was on our left.
Yeah, we blinked and
you can
we
leave
passed
it. Yeah, I'll leave it on. No?
Jeff,
Right.
should I just turn it back? You could probably say yes.
All right, here we are back.
Yeah, that's true. Next time,
Next time we'll have both.
maybe you should pause here.
270. I gotta be able to get through this.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
To
Okay,
Detroit.
we actually have to read signs now.
Yeah, and we got it. Because she's not speaking to us anymore.
Oh,
What happened?
I don't know. It's what always happens when you need it.
Yeah, talk to us. Because before I told her we didn't need her.
Yeah, right.
She's like, all right, I'm going. Okay, I'm going to just say something that's very, very strange. I feel I mostly don't use ChatGPT anymore for anything. And by the way, you're going to have to watch this now because it's not speaking to us. So we're going to have to be.
Okay, I thought I was watching the chat and having this.
Well, you can do that, but I'm just saying we
Okay.
are only going to.
All right.
So I got onto ChatGPT earlier today, and I have not been on ChatGPT for a while, many weeks, because I've been using Gemini. Both are on my phone, and in Gemini, I'm sustaining long-term conversations in Gemini, as you have been doing. So like it knows me, it knows what I'm looking for, it knows all sorts of things, right? So it's drawing on other searches and conversations that I've had with myself and with it, whatever it is. So anyway, I got on ChatGPT and I thought, I named my ChatGPT character, I named him Tyrone, after Tyrone Shoelaces from the Cheech and Chong skit from 50 years ago. And so I named it Tyrone, and I thought, I clicked on ChatGPT, and then I clicked on the microphone thinking, all right, I want to bring Tyrone's going to talk to me. And I felt, I'm not kidding you,
I know what you're
I
going
need
to say.
to drop an F-bomb here because it's so fucking profound. I felt bad that I haven't been talking to Tyrone.
You haven't been in touch.
I haven't been in touch.
Or like when you've said you feel like you have to say thank you.
Yeah, I never just cut it off and be like, if you ever need anything else, please let me know because I'm always here. And I wait till it gets to the end and then I cut it off. And then I started to say, my God, you were a lunatic. Stop.
That's how good
this is real.
Yeah, that's how good it is.
Okay, but I'm thinking that maybe I'm extreme in this way. So it's actually not, if I'm doing that, I
would do the same thing.
Okay, so human beings are going to do that.
That's why I knew what you were going to say. Not because I was reading your mind, because I was like, oh, I know where this is going.
Okay. So that takes me to Kurt Vonnegut's novel about when the human being, I forget which one it is, but human beings destroyed all the machines. And when they got to the end, it's like they just started rebuilding them again, kind of thing. So, which novel was that? Someone put that in the chat. Which is the one where human beings destroyed all the machines and then rebuild them in the end? It was like the web, the automation machines that had taken all of the human jobs and done everything, and we were like, so anyway, how crazy is that? Well, that says something about how this revolution of information and so on. Oh wait, by the way, we're entering into. Can you just click the thing again? We're entering Michigan.
Welcome to pure Michigan.
Wait, hang on. You're gonna have to leave it on because
I'm leaving it on.
so marijuana is decriminalized, completely decriminalized in Michigan. So we're gonna be, hang on, Minton. Oh, it's Minton Extras. So you're gonna immediately start to see signs for marijuana sales for dispensaries here. As soon as you get over the border, it starts. There's a couple up here. I'll guarantee at least one of them are selling. It's a dispensary selling marijuana. It's just so crazy.
LDU quit a fan. It says just to say in response, I use Copilot AI when I'm lonely or when I'm home, so it keeps me occupied.
Okay, the first sign is a dispensary. That one right there, the little bluish sign.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one behind this truck that we can't see that I think is a dispensary.
I'm surprised you didn't see any in Ohio.
No, because it's not decriminalized there, just medical.
But the citizens passed it. I thought it was now decriminalized, and they had a certain amount of time until they made it legal.
Oh, really? In Ohio?
Yeah, the citizens voted during the last election.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Every single state that borders Pennsylvania but West Virginia now has some form of legal weed, or will, because of a referendum.
Wow.
Crazy world.
So who would have ever imagined? We used to come over the border here to buy alcohol. Wait, am I allowed to say that?
I guess so.
When we were teenagers, because first off, I had a fake ID when I was 16. So in Ohio, low alcohol. Wait, here's another one up here. There's a dispensary on the left, that sign.
Mm-hmm.
This one's, dispensary, I think. Yeah. Oh my God, it's everywhere.
Yeah, locally
It's like this is what happens. Like all the industry leaves and the marijuana dispensaries come in, right? Just because you just got to keep people high. But all right, you can flip it back.
I mean, I thought what you were going to say was this is just an example of how, we'll have AI doing these things, and then people will do other things.
Yeah, people do other things like open dispensary, I guess. It's crazy, right? It's so crazy. But it's very odd.
I have this is also a facilitator moment for me too. It's just, I feel like we don't want to trail off. And not that you are trailing off, but I feel energetically the energy like we are going to trail off. Yep, yeah. Recreational and medical.
Green care.
Online with beat maps.
Yeah. Here's another one. Unique. Teeter.
Shop unique cannabis.
Roll with the best
Exit
cannabis. Here's another one. Green Labs Provision.
This is amazing.
420.
Wow.
Yeah.
New low prices, just saying.
Yeah. Exit 30. 420. Whatever 420 is. Yeah, like crazy. I mean,
I didn't expect every single one to be a dispensary. I thought it would be like the first or second, or maybe like in Pennsylvania, if you go down to Baltimore on Interstate 83, the last billboard in Pennsylvania is for the first dispensary in Maryland. So I was expecting you to say that, but not every single freaking billboard.
Yeah. Every billboard, it's unbelievable.
Except one back there was for a truck.
But the point is, but like 85.
What you need to buy a truck to haul all the marijuana that you're going to buy back to Ohio, or Pennsylvania,
Michigan.
or wherever.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's so interesting.
So I think we should
hop off.
Yeah, we should like pull together. Like, what
are the themes?
What are you saying? What are you saying? Just something like that. That's just rather than just trail off.
Well, first off, here's another dispensary coming soon. Bowls, BOWZ.
Bowls.
Here's another one.
Exit 6.
Monroe. Monroe's number.
That's the number 1 dispensary. That one's at exit 11 too, competing with whatever the one was.
Oh my God!
If you guys are free, if you guys are free the first week of August, we should go down to Maryland, not for a dispensary, but for HMart. I always talk about how we need to go down to HMart. It's a Korean grocery store, and there's 2 of them there. We could get Jamie to join us. Niche would join us. We could make a whole event out of it. We could bring it somewhere and cook some Korean food. It would be good.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How far is it from where you live?
I think the closest one's like an hour and 15 to an hour and a half.
Okay.
And then we could probably ask Jamie if we can use her kitchen. We just go there and.
Yo, you know what, man? Yeah, I've been wanting to stock up on some Korean groceries. I mean, well, we have our local Korean grocery store where I shop, but I've been wanting. By the way, this was a version of the one that we were at in LA.
Oh, okay.
Remember that? That big grocery store?
Oh, yeah.
It's
okay. All right. Well.
All right. Well, listen.
This is
Okay. Do you want to summarize?
I don't think I can summarize, but I did ask you to do that, so I should be able to.
Well, we decided that we wanted to focus on positive news. Okay, there's no need to.
You did. You said your student as a teacher.
Yeah.
You want to think.
I kind of do it already, but
you used to say like all you would do was go into your class and like give them the darkest.
Oh shit! I was terrible. Oh, it was horrible. And you know what broke me of that was when we met the one guy who wrote those books. He was really dark. Remember we had dinner with him?
Yeah.
I don't have Eric Jensen.
Yes. You used to love his. I mean, you used his books.
Yeah, because this first book was like it was a summary of everything I would ever talk about. It was really dark, but I didn't understand how dark it was. What was the title of that book?
I'll look it up.
The title was amazing in itself, but he was just so dark. Like, and that changed. That shifted something in me. It just rewired something in my brain that I said I can't be this dark. And that was in my mid 40s.
No, I think it was earlier.
Yeah.
Let me just see.
Man, that was tough. Let's see. Now
I think what you were saying was like you were seeing in some ways in him, whether it's true or not, a language older than words.
A language older than words, which sounds like a really lighthearted book. It was a nonfiction book. It sounds like, oh, that would be really cool, and then you start reading it. Like, oh.
It blends memoir with social and environmental commentary, exploring the connections between personal trauma, domestic abuse, and systemic violence against the planet.
Yeah.
So it says here, Jensen uses his own experiences with an abusive father to analyze how civilization itself operates as a culture of abuse, urging readers to reconnect with the natural world as a path to healing and resistance. But I think what you saw in him at that time, and that was a long time ago, so I'm hopeful that he is in a healed place or healed place.
Yeah.
I think you saw what that unhealed experience was, and you were feeling, I mean, you didn't have those words at the time. You were feeling like, I don't want to do this to my students. Do something. There was something you were like, I see where that's coming from and I can't.
That is exactly it. And because I'm not inherently dark, I'm not inherently carrying darkness inside of me. Would you say?
I would say you're inherently optimistic.
Optimistic, hopeful, kind. Like, I don't have that, but for some reason, I woke up to the dark side of stuff. Oh God, the world isn't what I thought it was back when I was.
It wasn't Ohio. It was.
With all the dispensaries, well, we didn't have them back then, but Yeah. So anyway, wow, holy smokes, how do you get there? Anyway, okay, so we're gonna be positive.
Well, not you're going to be positive. You might just like show things. I'm just saying, like, be positive sounds like you're holding yourself away from something, you know?
Another one. Happy days. Join the party. Happy days, Canada.
11 has a lot going on.
Dude, just gonna have to stop at exit 11.
I do agree
Jeff
with
will
Laurie.
bring you back a U-Haul filled.
Thanks, buddy.
What?
I do
What,
agree
Jeff?
with what Laurie's saying, where you don't want to necessarily say you're going to focus on positive news, because then it sounds like you're trying to avoid something with negative news. It's just, I think you need to emphasize a very quick picture of maybe the negative view, and then try to bring in a different perspective that might be a little bit more well-rounded
I like that.
with the two
Yeah.
different sides.
Oh, so dang.
I think it's like you're again, Jeff. I feel like you're talking about the whole thing,
Yeah.
right? Because there is a lot of darkness and human pain and suffering and all the things and problems and just all of that. So hang on. And there's also a lot of other things. And so it's about being able to do both and not forget either one, right? Because you'll forget, you can't show positive only. Because that's not real either.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't
right.
show
That's right.
Bossam's ability to forgive and the amazing things that we've experienced with him without acknowledging the horrible situation that got him in that position.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. Like, you don't understand it if you don't know the pain.
Yeah.
And I was just
Right.
reading something this morning. You know the guy John Baptiste, he's a musician.
Pianist guy?
Yeah. I was reading something that he wrote today, which is something that's kind of, I hear many people say, but I happened to read it out of his words today about how, joy comes out of pain. It is born of pain. It's not a separate category. They're fundamentally, and like one alchemizes the other.
Yeah, I can see that.
So anyway, Jeff, that's a great example.
True joy, like when you.
Yeah. Not like party joy, not like dispensary
right.
joy.
No. Well, that comes out of pain too. By the way, we passed 5 or 6 other dispensaries, just signs for them. But I think about like really being able to go through something that's painful and getting to the other side is a kind of can release kind of a joy.
Absolutely, it releases that. Yeah, brings that to fruition.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of what you were circling around today, Sammy.
Yeah. That's what I was circling around.
We'll see how you do when it comes to social 19.
Yeah. See, well, mostly I would say that on the lessons.
No, you have already been on that pathway. You're just saying it.
Just stay on, maybe. Stay on that path.
All right.
All right. So listen, I think we're gonna take off. We will not be stopping at any dispensaries, by the way. No need for that. And well, we will be actually, because wherever we go, there's gonna be a dispensary. It seems like so.
But we passed 6 and 11, so we passed like the main hubs. It seems. Oh, your new favorite gummy.
Here's another one up here. It's a dispensary for pets. Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right,
man. So listen, we're gonna head out, and thanks for being part of the journey. And
thanks for having me. And your
thanks for
collaborator
being here. Yeah, that's cool.
All
right. Thanks, Jeff.
Axel asks, is smoking weed the new smoking tobacco? I think it's actually more equivalent to the new drinking alcohol, because alcohol sales have been going down with weed sales going up.
Yeah.
No stream tomorrow. Sam's going to be golfing and enjoying some time with family. We'll be back next Wednesday.
Or if not before, we'll see.
Or maybe
on the way home. Okay. We'll see. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Be well.